I appreciate everyone joining tonight. This is Jason Shake from Sassafras Software, and what we want to talk about today is the recent trend that we have found with a number of our customers wanting to get Sassafras data, primarily hardware configuration details and software installation information into their help desk environment. The most popular, it seems, has been the Team Dynamics integration that we released a couple of years ago. That has been probably the most common approach to getting the data into a help desk system. And we also have an integration with ServiceNow, and another one that is on the tail end of development for the Jira application from Atlassian. And then there are a number of others that many of our customers have taken it upon themselves to kind of build out using our REST API or ODBC, JDBC connectors to get data into other systems as well. It's been going on for quite a while. But what we noticed a couple of years ago in particular was actually a couple of vendors even reached out to us during a couple of our conferences that we went to at trade shows, requesting for connectors to get our data into their products. The idea being that our product is known for being very accurate data for hardware configuration. It's up to date. Our clients installed. It's constantly monitoring for changes. So having help desk workers have easy access to the hardware configuration details and or software installs has made it a lot easier in those sites to make that happen, or for a lot easier for them to get their job done in that initial phase of information gathering to try to solve a trouble ticket. So before we jump into the demo of the Team Dynamics and ServiceNow integrations, what I wanted to do is just refresh anybody who might be on the call who hasn't seen much of the kinds of data our client is gathering, just to give you an idea of what kinds of information you can pull in. One approach, of course, to helping the help desk out using our product is to give them direct access. So when the last couple of years when COVID hit, one of the things that we did was implement some SSO integrations. So now there is Okta, Azure AD, Active Directory, of course, as well as Google SSO integrations. So it's easy to assign group membership and restricted access accounts these days. So one approach could just be as simple as providing your help desk workers with a login to come into the Sassafras interface and pull the details out directly. So hardware configuration details, hard drive, processor, RAM capacity. A couple of very popular things that people have found are very useful to help desk is the install date for the help desk. I'm sorry, for the operating system, as well as the operating system version. There's some old data here, but the OS version as well as the OS install date have been very popular bits of information that are really useful to help desk workers, as well as software installations. What's cool about this, what you'll see in the Team Dynamics is it's not just what's installed today, but because we can see when these changes occur, help desk workers can actually see exactly when software was updated last and when changes, most recent changes were made to computers. So IP address, the last user, the MAC address or any other MAC addresses associated with a piece of equipment. We can see monitors and drives as independent and separate assets as well. We'll see those listed under the devices tab here if there are any that have been discovered by the client. And then there are some asset fields here that are, some of them are actually fairly new in the most recent 7.8 release, that some of these can actually come from the help desk system into the Sassafras side, like the lifecycle stage or the asset ID. But any of these fields are also available to export into another system. So once again, really quickly before we step into the TD interface and then look at ServiceNow and Jira, there's a couple of other data points that can be useful that we have sort of automated ways to populate. And if we come down to the settings tab here, you'll see there are some scripts. I want to just point your attention to a couple of them here. If you don't know about them, they've been pretty popular recently. There's one for gathering Dell warranty dates, as well as Lenovo and Microsoft. So what these scripts are, once you install them here from settings, is you can go to the computers page, make a selection of a group of computers, come up and run the script, and it will actually query the Dell, Lenovo, or Microsoft servers to pull back and populate the relevant warranty date fields for the individual devices that you run that script on. Again, once it's there, staged within our product, it's then available to export out into other systems. So that was one thing I wanted to mention. There are a couple of other fairly new scripts worth mentioning as well. One is called Set Asset Fields. This is another one that kind of allows for bulk changes to multiple devices at once. So again, similar kind of thing. If I select a group of computers and then select to run that Set Asset Field script, it gives me a dialog that lets me populate details for all of the selected computers at once. And again, once it's populated here, it's available as fields that can be moved out into one of the help desk tools that we integrate with. I've been working here in the web interface, and I know a lot of our long-term administrators don't necessarily use the web interface very much. Everything that I've shown you so far, it can be done just as easily in Key Configure. The scripts that I was showing you, if you come under File menu to manage scripts, it functions a little bit differently, but you drag them up from the bottom of this window to the top to install them. And then just like I was showing you a second ago, if we select a group of computers here in Key Configure, you'll see the installed scripts listed, and I can run them right from here. So most of the scripts can be run in either location. In fact, the ones that can't be run in both locations, for the most part, can only be run in Key Configure. So you're not handicapped in Key Configure when it comes to managing most of these. It's just I tend to gravitate to the web interface for most of our demos these days. It tends to be a little bit more user-friendly. So let's go ahead and have a quick look at what the interface in Team Dynamics looks like. I'm going to give you a quick walkthrough of TD and then show you the Jira and ServiceNow integrations. And then we'll see what questions you have, and more than happy to answer any questions and talk through any of this with you if you like. So to jump into the Team Dynamics interface, assets come in, you see them listed under assets. So we've got the computers listed here. If I click on a machine, it's going to pop up a new window to give me the details that are in the system. And there's two sets of fields here. One set are the built-in Team Dynamics asset fields. So any of these that just start, that just have a field name, are built-in fields, and we can populate data from our system into these using our script. I'll show you that as well. The rest of these fields that begin with KS, these were actually created as a part of the integration. So the first steps, the first few integration or implementation steps here are to go into Team Dynamics, create a service account for the key server to use, and then create the fields for the information that you want. And pretty much any of the fields in our computers table can be brought in. The trick is just that you create a field that begins with the KS colon prefix and then is followed by the field name coming from the key server, and that tells the integration script that that's a field that you want merged in, and it will move it in. So this is an example of a computer record from this eAdams 1009 computer. I can click on this relationships tab to see installed software. The software is listed as configuration items. So if I were to go to configuration items here, I could go in and see all of the software that has been found on these various computers, and then I could click on a software title and it would show me all the computers it was installed on. But I came in from the computer side, so it's showing me which products are installed on this specific machine. And then if I come out and we go back into a computer, there's also a link here to the Key Reporter web interface version of this computer. So if I click here, it'll open up a new browser window and take me to the web interface for the key server and show me that same computer in the web build. So again, the operating system version, so you can include the BIOS version, the installation date for the OS, most recent user, most recent login, that sort of thing is going to be listed. And then down here where the feed is where we're going to see any recent changes that have occurred. On this demo server, it's pretty much just simulated logins that we're seeing, but any software installations or uninstalls or other changes to the configuration of that machine are also going to be written here. So you get a log of recent changes that have occurred to a given computer. So what we have heard in terms of feedback is that this is extremely helpful, that traditionally help desk workers have to go look up in various data sources when the last OS install was and kind of track things down from there. And with this data here, because our client's there and every login is being logged and every change is being tracked, it makes it kind of gives you a single place where all this data is very easily accessible, right where the help desk team is already working. Another thing I heard that was pretty helpful recently was a site that said that they're using this to figure out or make sure that software that had been deployed through SCCM really did get installed, because we can see those changes. Then you don't have to wonder, SCCM says it was installed, but did it really get there? Because our client then sees it, picks it up, and you can see on the device listed here in the help desk tool that new version is there, kind of confirms that those installations were successful. So that it's pretty straightforward. Our interface has a lot of depth with dashboards, reporting on logins and software usage, lab maps, and a lot of depth to the functionality. For these help desk integrations, it really is just about configuration details, some recent login and software changes, and then that complete software list tied to the assets. Going to jump over to Jira and ServiceNow, but before I do, I'm going to come back really quickly just to show you what the TD integration actually looks like. Actually, first thing I'm going to do is drop into the chat window a link to this blog post, which kind of walks you through the TD integration. Let me just pull up the chat window. By the way, if you do have any questions, feel free to unmute your mic or drop them in the chat window. I'm more than happy to answer as we go, but I'll make sure we have time at the end as well. So I dropped that link in there. That kind of gives you sort of the basic walkthrough I gave you just now, but down at the very bottom is a PDF, a link to a PDF that is the actual instructions. And you'll see that most of the initial configuration is actually done in Team Dynamics, creating those fields and setting up that service account, a little bit of configuration. And then back here on the web interface side in settings, one of the scripts right down at the bottom is called Sync with Team Dynamics. And if I go into the settings for this script, you see there's only 3 tabs: the information for authentication that the server is going to use. This matching tab has to do with when we import a record, if there's a pre-existing record, do we want to use a serial number, the asset ID, and or the name, computer name, to match against? And then on the options tab, there's a lot of different possibilities here. One for whether or not you want to create new assets. So in some cases, you might already have all of your computers in TD, and you don't want the key server creating new ones. You want it to find the pre-existing records and add additional details to them. But in some cases, you may be just deploying TD, or may not have deployed it yet, and you actually want to use the key server to create and import those records from scratch. So you can have it do both, or just simply add additional details to pre-existing records. And then there's some other things that you'll notice in the documentation, like this option to set the computer model from the key server. What that's about is in Team Dynamics, there is already a model field, and you may already have your computers in Team Dynamics, and you might already have the model populated with something that you want to keep. Well, in that case, you can turn that selection off so that it doesn't set the computer model field in Team Dynamics from the key server, but you can still get the key server model data in, because you can create the KS model field, and it will simply import it into one of the KS fields instead of into the standard built-in Team Dynamics field. So there's other similar kinds of options about whether you want to set the purchase and warranty date from key server, and other options there. And then once it has been synced up the first time, once you run this the first time, you can actually set it to run on a schedule, so that on a daily or even more frequently, if you wanted to, basis, any changes are being synced up, and you make sure you always got the most accurate, up-to-date information synced into TD. So that is that for Team Dynamics. Let me jump into the Jira interface. This one is, like I said, in kind of the final stages of development. This one isn't 100% complete yet, but I wanted to give you another idea, because we're not limited to just these three that we have built out these official integrations with. These are the ones that we've got. They're all being done based on either JavaScript or our REST API, and as long as whatever system that you are using also has some kind of API to get the data in, it's certainly feasible that this could be done in another system as well. So with this one, we're looking at the computer list here. This is again a link back to the AllSight instance, where I could see this computer record in a separate window. And then similar under projects here, if we look at this ITSM project, this is where we will see tickets. So from here, I can go into a ticket and actually see the computers associated with this ticket, or the computer associated with this ticket. And if we go in, we see it's this linked asset here. So I can open that up. And so here are the computer details for this record. If there's any linked issues, I can click here. And then again, I can view the details in AllSight. So there's that view from starting from the ticket and going in. And then from this side, where I clicked on AllSight assets, this is the view where I can see the actual the list of computer records and do a search from here. So that's a quick view of the Jira. And then ServiceNow is a little bit different. So this is the ServiceNow dashboard. Excuse me. And this one is actually an app on the ServiceNow side. So for the ServiceNow integration, we're on the ServiceNow store. You install it. It's free to install. All of our documentation is available to you, and of course, we're available to help if you'd like some configuration assistance on this. But rather than a script installed on the AllSight side, the ServiceNow side is where the integration gets installed. So it pulls from ServiceNow. And if we look at, let's see here. So here is the dashboard view. I think this will give me a list of the computer records similar to what we were seeing. So here's my computer list. And of course, I can sort by name, manufacturer, CPU, or any of the other fields that are visible here. So again, a similar kind of asset view, data being brought in from our product. If I click on a record, I should get a window with details here. In this case, there's 3 tabs for the computer records up top here. The configuration item, and then financial information if you have that in ServiceNow, and then other details for the hardware configuration. So that is the kind of the high level explanation. We wanted to just introduce you guys if you had an interest or a need um, to what a lot of our customers seem to be doing. This has been quite of a trend the last couple of years we've noticed, and so we wanted to just sort of show everybody what we've seen others doing, talk about some of the integrations that we've built based on user requests, offer to answer any questions, and provide any assistance that you might need if you're interested in getting something like this set up.